Of course, who the next president will be, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. This is a look at where things stand right now. Again, just an hour into those polls being closed, at least here in New York. Right now, with 27% of the precincts reporting Donald Trump is leading Kamala Harris. We'll keep an eye on that very early in the night, of course. This is a look at the road to the 270 electoral college votes needed to secure the presidency. Right now, Democrats, 27% of the precincts reporting. Again, you need 270 to win. We'll keep an eye on this map as those states change colors. Still a ways to go tonight. Now, the national focus is on 7 battleground states that could swing this election. Those are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. But also at stake tonight is the balance of power in the House. So here is where things stand right now. 77 seats are held by the Democrats and 110 are held by Republicans. You need 218 for control of the House. Some Democrats here on the island hoping to flip those seats, take control. We'll take a look at those results in just a moment. But this is the first general election with those newly redrawn congressional districts. So there are some small adjustments in 3 districts here on the island that are affecting people in parts of Huntington, Brookhaven, and Massapequa. Those 4 districts on your screen right there. In the first congressional district, which is a big portion of Long Island, incumbent Republican Nick LaLota is facing Democratic challenger John Avlon. We have been waiting for results in District 1. It's still at 0% right now, so we'll check back on that one. But we do have a few early results in the 2nd district. Long Island Senior Congressman Andrew Garbarino fending off that challenge from Democrat Rob Lubin. Looks like for now, Garbarino with a pretty commanding lead. In the 3rd district, Democratic Congressman Tom Suozzi, he just won his special election a few months ago to replace Republican George Santos. So he flipped that seat. Mike LaPetri trying to gain it back for the Republicans. But right now, Suozzi appears to be hanging on to that seat. And in what may be the most closely watched race, District 4, incumbent Republican Congressman Anthony D'Esposito is in a rematch with Democratic veteran Laura Gillen in the 4th district. Right now, Gillen is leading this race with 52% of the expected total vote in. So we're going to keep a close eye on it. That's where things stand right now. Also, just a quick little mention for you. Kirsten Gillibrand has won her race for the U.S. Senate seat, and also Proposition 1 has passed. Stay with Newsday TV all night for our live election coverage. We will bring you more results as soon as they come in. You can see and hear about how they will impact you right here on Newsday TV, but also be sure to check out newsday.com/livotes for more in-depth coverage. We'll be back. Welcome back to Newsday TV special LI Votes 2024 election coverage. I'm Macy Eglund. It is a few minutes after 10 o'clock. The polls have closed across the island, across the nation, as our team is working to bring you those election results as soon as they come in. So let's get to it. Long Islanders and people around the world, of course, waiting to see who the next president will be, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Let's take another look at where things stand right now as those early results are coming in. Again, Donald Trump with the lead over Kamala Harris as things stand right now. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the night. This is a look at the road to the 270 electoral college votes that are needed to secure the presidency. 188 electoral votes for Donald Trump right now and 99 for Kamala Harris. Now, also at stake is the balance of power in the House. This is what we will be keeping a very close eye on as the night goes on. This is where things stand right now. 114 seats controlled by the Republicans and 79 held by the Democrats. They need 218 for control of the House. This is the first general election with those newly redrawn congressional districts, so there are some small adjustments made in 3 districts here on Long Island. Those affect people in parts of Huntington, Brookhaven, and Massapequa. In the first congressional district, again, still waiting on results in District 1, which is unfortunate because this is a huge portion of Long Island. This is the North Shore from Huntington all the way out to the East End. We've got incumbent Republican Nick LaLota facing Democratic challenger John Avlon, still waiting to see what's going on there. In the second district, Long Island senior Congressman Andrew Garbarino fending off a challenge from Democrat Rob Lubin. Right now, a strong commanding lead, hanging on to that seat for now. We'll see what happens throughout the night. In the third district, Democratic Congressman Tom Suozzi, just a few months after he won that special election, flipped this seat back for the Democrats after replacing George Santos, the Republican, running against Republican Mike LaPetri in the third district. Let's check out what's going on in the fourth. A lot of people keeping a very close eye on this rematch between incumbent Republican Congressman Anthony D'Esposito and Democratic veteran Laura Gillen in the fourth district. Right now, Gillen with the lead over D'Esposito. Now, in the U.S. Senate here in New York, Democrat incumbent Kirsten Gillibrand has been declared the winner in the race against Michael Sapercone and Diane Sayre. We do have live reporters at all of the local party headquarters across Long Island, and we'll get over to them, see what's going on at those party headquarters. Also, my colleagues Ken Buffa, Newsday columnist Joy Brown, they are in the newsroom right now. They will be breaking down the results of the vote in the hottest races here in New York and, of course, in the race for the White House. So we'll check in with them in a moment. For local analysis that you will not get anywhere else, we have Newsday Washington Bureau Chief Tom Brune in D.C. and taking a look at what's at stake in New York State. Newsday's Albany Bureau Chief Yancey Roy is with us as well. So let's get to those local headquarters. We begin with Sherry Einhorn. She's at Suffolk GOP headquarters in Patchogue for us tonight. Sherry, what's going on?
Macy, if you can hear it, which I'm guessing you can, the music is pumping. The crowds are energized, and Suffolk Republicans say they feel confident they will be celebrating today. A little while ago, we spoke with Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine about voter turnout. It's a phrase we've been hearing over the last week or so with early voting, and definitely today on Election Day, we heard from lots of people that there were long lines at the polls. Here's what County Exec Ed Romaine told us about voter turnout here in Suffolk County.
What I'm hearing from voter turnout is that most of the Republican candidates are going to do very, very well. So I think all of our incumbents, including Anthony Palumbo, who's in a very tight race in the 1st Senate district, I think most of the incumbents for the Senate are two congressional incumbents, and most of our assembly incumbents are going to be reelected, no problem. There was a huge turnout, incredible turnout. As I mentioned before, 300,000 in Suffolk voted early. We don't get that many in a general election, but that's early voting, not absentees, and not today, Election Day.
As you heard County Exec Ed Romaine saying that kind of voter turnout is something that sometimes they just don't see. A little while ago, Suffolk GOP Chairman Jesse Garcia took to the stage, rallying the crowd, saying they would come back and bring candidates in a little while when they have more results. That's the very latest now from Suffolk GOP headquarters in Patchogue. I'm Sherry Einhorn. Macy, let's go back to you.
Okay, thanks, Sherry. Now let's head over to Holtsville, staying in Suffolk County. That's where Andrew Enger is keeping tabs on the Democrats in Suffolk for us. Andrew, what's going on there?
Well, Suffolk Democrats certainly ramping up their excitement here, and many of them that I've spoken to already are here to see John Avlon. They want to see him unseat incumbent Republican Nick LaLota in the 1st District. Now, he just actually arrived here moments ago, Mr. Avlon, just arrived here moments ago, and we got a chance to speak with him. Out there at the polls today, do you feel that people got the message? Were they?
Oh, yeah. Extraordinary stories I've heard over the course of this campaign. Just on the drive here, I heard about a young woman who is in advanced cancer treatment and mailed in her ballot for me because it was so important to her. A gentleman, in hospice who did the same thing. I mean, there's a deeper level of commitment and excitement around this campaign that I think sometimes is evident on the surface. I think this is not a typical party line election. I think this is what the nature of being a purple district in a blue state. I think it sometimes breaks late. But we have all the momentum since that Siena poll. We've been crushing on air, and I think people are really seeing that what they want is a candidate who can bring people together to rebuild the middle, and that's what I'm committed to.
This has been really a race to the middle, this more than anything else.
Well, that's where I've been my entire life. That's a matter of principle for me. For my opponent, it's a matter of political expediency. He's a Trumper who's, after I won the primary by 40 points, tried to rebrand himself a moderate because he knew that's where he needed to be, but he couldn't do it because he had the baggage of Donald Trump, the baggage of a 12-week abortion ban, the baggage of palling around with this talk of patriots. So that's him. That's that old dance of pretending you're moderate for an election, voting MAGA in Washington. I think people are sick of that stuff. I've got a 20-year history of being a deep, committed believer in the vital center. That's why I ran. That's what I'll do, and that's why I believe we'll win.
Well, we're certainly going to see if he does. That prediction does come true, and he does unseat Mr. LaLota. Well, of course, we'll have to wait for the numbers. But at least right now, the party is starting to begin here in Holtsville. Andrew Enger, NewsdayTV.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Let's get over to Jill Wagner. She is at Nassau GOP headquarters in Baldwin for us tonight. It seems to be even louder now, Jill.
Well, Macy, what we keep hearing from Republicans here at the GOP headquarters is they say that they are cautiously optimistic. Now, the race that they are very closely watching is the 4th District Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, who is looking to hang on to his seat. He is in a tough rematch against Laura Gillen. And they say that the biggest challenge that they're up against is it's a numbers game, and there are simply more registered Democrats, about 70,000 more registered Democrats in that 4th District. But they are feeling pretty confident that the independents are going to break for them. They're also thinking that some Democrats will come out and also vote for Anthony D'Esposito. A short while ago, we spoke to Nassau County Republican Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, and he said that this is all about turnout.
What I'm seeing so far makes me cautiously optimistic. I think we're doing very well with the turnout. We did very well with the early voting. The factors that I would say right now are going to determine the race are the independent voters, the blank voters. Which way are they going to come down and what percentage? And our polling data has shown that Anthony D'Esposito has done very well in the polling with the independent voters, and he's doing a lot better than last time with African American voters and Hispanic American voters.
And I did speak to the congressman a few days ago, and he said he was feeling really good about the race. He said he was not taking any votes for granted. He was going to train stations, knocking on doors, making phone calls, putting signs up. So they feel pretty good about the race that they have run, and at this point, just waiting for those results to come in. So that's what's happening here in Baldwin at the GOP headquarters. Jill Wagner, NewsdayTV, Macy.
All right, thank you, Jill. Plenty of night ahead of us. Let's get over to Virginia Huey. She is at Nassau Democratic headquarters in Garden City for us tonight. Virginia.
Macy, one of the most closely watched, hotly contested races is in the 4th Congressional District. In 2022, Laura Gillen lost that race to Anthony D'Esposito by only about 10,000 votes. But for her rematch with D'Esposito, she told me she took a different approach. She started the campaign earlier, she set up more campaign offices and deployed more volunteers to knock on doors. And joining me now is Nassau County Legislator Seth Kozlow to talk more about that. You witnessed some of her campaigns and stops. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, Laura really, she spread herself out as much as she could. She had multiple campaign offices throughout Nassau County. She met with constituents through all the districts. She didn't just centralize her campaign from one spot and branch out like a lot of people do. She had multiple offices, and she went to each office to meet with everybody to really get those volunteers to work and help her win this campaign. That coordinated campaign she put together really made a difference, and I think you're seeing that tonight.
Is there something about her message in her second showdown with D'Esposito that is different, that is making a difference? Because we're seeing the numbers are in her favor right now.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is the fact that people saw that they made a mistake when they didn't vote for her in the beginning, because you see what D'Esposito did. He had 2 years, and what did he do? He ran with his extreme agenda that gave us the issues that he thought were important, but no solutions for that. Whereas Laura, when she campaigned, she gave people solutions to problems. I worked with her for one of her press conferences where she outlined a whole program to try and fight anti-Semitism on Long Island. She had examples of what she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it, and who she wanted to work with, as opposed to just saying anti-Semitism is a problem. And people are tired of hearing it's a problem without a solution. And because of the fact that she's offering solutions, people are responding, and we're seeing that tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us, Seth. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now this room is really getting packed. Every couple of minutes there's applause because they're seeing the numbers going in the favor of those candidates running in the 3rd and 4th congressional districts. And that is the very latest here in Garden City. I'll send it back to you, Macy.
Okay, thanks, Virginia. So let's take a look at those latest results. These are the latest numbers coming into our newsroom right now in the race for the White House. This is the first up, we've got to look at Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in the race for the White House here. 34% of the precincts reporting Donald Trump right now leading Kamala Harris. That's also at stake tonight is the balance of power in the House. Republicans currently hold a slim majority with 220 seats. The Dems have 212, and there are 3 vacancies. So right now, 121 Republicans hold seats and 82 are in control of the Democrats. They need 218 for control of the House. We're keeping a close eye on this for you tonight. 4 of those seats represent Long Island. In District 1, we finally have some results here. This is a huge portion of Long Island, so good to see some numbers coming in. This is North Shore from Huntington out to the East End. Democrat John Avlon, who we just heard from, taking on Republican Nick LaLota, who's hoping to hold on to his seat for a second term. Right now, he is leading this race with 98% of expected total vote here. So we're going to keep an eye on this, see if that changes at all. Moving on to District 2. Republican Andrew Garbarino hoping to hang on to his seat for a 3rd term, running against Democrat Rob Lubin. Andrew Garbarino with a pretty commanding lead in the 2nd district. Moving on to District 3, this is the North Shore of Nassau County. Republican Mike LePetri taking on Democrat Tom Suozzi, who served in Congress for 6 years. He won that special election to replace George Santos. Right now, he is leading that race. Let's take a look at the U.S. Senate. Democrats currently have a 51-49 majority if you include the 4 independents who vote with Democrats. So the GOP could retake control of the chamber with a net gain of 1 or 2 seats, depending on the presidential results. So that's where it currently stands. Here in New York, we do know that Democrat incumbent Kirsten Gillibrand will hold on to her seat. She was up against Michael Sapricone and Diane Sayre, but she has already been declared the winner in that U.S. Senate race. For more on this from the nation's capital, let's bring in Newsday's Washington Bureau Chief Tom Brune, and also with a look at what's at stake in New York State, we've got Newsday's Albany Chief Yancey Roy as well. So Tom, let's get started with you again. Just kind of talk to me about what you're keeping your eyes on right now. What's standing out at this point in the night, Tom?
I think we're waiting for these 7 states. I mean, one state likely will go for Trump, but Georgia, Pennsylvania, and the upper Midwest states are still uncertain, and they're the ones that we have to watch all night. And it may take a few days before we know the final results from them.
Right.
You can see Kirsten Gillibrand won very easily in New York State. And most of the states are either going to be red or blue. There's not going to be much problem there. But I do think that we have to just be patient.
Right. Let's talk about a big force this election year, especially in the presidential race, the female vote. How do you think that's expected to impact this election year?
This is a very interesting question because when you look at the polls that have been done, it looks like the Republican Party is the men's party and the Democratic Party is the women's party. And they both, there's about 17% more men voting for Trump and 17% more women voting for Harris. And so it's kind of an interesting parallel there, except for the fact that more women right now in the early returns are voting than men. And so if that pattern holds up, that means women are going to have a much bigger hand in the election.
Well, this is the first election since Roe versus Wade was overturned. How do you think the issue of abortion access kind of played into this election as well, Tom?
I think it's a driver for Democrats. It's something that they've paid a lot of attention to. I think there's like 9 or 10 referendums on abortion policy. Right now it's 1 for 1. Maryland passed it, or 2 for 1, I should say. Maryland and New York have passed referendums protecting abortion, and it failed in Florida because they didn't get the 60% of the vote it needed.
What other issues, Tom, in your reporting leading up to this election day, what other issues have you found is driving voters to the polls this year?
Well, I think, the economy. Famously, when Bill Clinton first ran for office, the saying was, it's the economy, stupid. And the economy is the top issue for most people. And so I think that's driving a lot of people to the polls. I think there's a great concern over the inflation we've had. The increase in prices everywhere has really shattered people. But there are other issues as well. Of course, immigration is driving a lot of Trump supporters. And I think that the Democrats tried to blunt that some. We'll see if they're successful with that. They did that by backing a bipartisan Senate bill that failed because Republicans voted against it. And I think abortion is the other issue. So those are the things that I think that people are really being driven by. Oh, the final thing is, of course, Democrats have really raised the issue of democracy, and they're very concerned about some erosion of democracy. We'll see how that plays out.
Right. Okay. We will see how that plays out in the hours to come, in the days to come. Tom in D.C. for us. We will check back with you later on tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Let's get over to Newsday's Albany Bureau Chief Yancey Roy. We're finally getting some results in this first congressional district race with Democrat John Avlon and Republican Nick LaLota. I just want to start, Yancey, if you don't mind, by getting your thoughts on those results, if you've been able to get a look at them. They just came in.
Yeah, I was looking at them as you were calling them out. I think that of the 7 races in Congress that are being watched in New York, and 5 of those are held by freshman Republicans, if you rank them in terms of vulnerability, national people would have put LaLota as the least vulnerable, maybe the most safe of all of those 5 freshman Republicans. So I think that in a way he's leading right now is probably not surprising to most people, but we are seeing elsewhere in the state where some other freshman Republicans are trailing early in the count right now.
So let's talk about that, Yancey. Right now, up on our screen for our viewers, we just saw that Nick LaLota has been declared the winner in District 1. But you mentioned those other seats that could potentially flip in New York. Those we have not looked at yet, so we'll see if some results are in. You're watching District 17, 18, 19, and 22. What's standing out right now in those other districts that you're watching upstate that our viewers maybe haven't seen or heard about just yet?
Yeah, in sort of reverse order, Brandon Williams in Syracuse, District 22, is trailing by a significant number of votes to Democrat John Mannion, although the number of districts that are in, the precincts that are in, is still low right now. We're also seeing Mark Molinaro is in a district that runs from the Hudson River to Ithaca, basically, sort of a southern tier Catskill district. He is also far behind Josh Riley right now. And then the third freshman Republican who is behind in early results is, as you mentioned, Anthony D'Esposito right there in Nassau County.
Okay, so those 3 seats potentially flipping to Democratic control. D17 and D18, I'm not sure if we have results that we could potentially pull up for those, but what are you seeing with Mike Lawler and Mondaire Jones up in District 17? That's something, you know, here on Long Island, the campaign ads have just been nonstop between those two. What is that race up in District 17 looking like between Mike Lawler, the Republican, and Democrat Mondaire Jones?
Mike Lawler's ahead right now in the early results. And I think if you ask folks nationally that if Lawler is in trouble or Lawler loses, that's then a sort of a broad brush stroke that might not be a good night for Republicans. If he holds on, then a better night for Republicans.
Okay. One last race. I just want to dig into this, if you don't mind. District 18, Anthony Esposito, the Republican, running against Representative Pat Ryan, hoping to hang on to that seat, the Democrat. Where are we looking with that right now in District 18?
Yeah, Pat Ryan of Ulster County is up big right now.
Okay. All right. Democrat looking to hold on to that seat. Okay. Yancey, anything else that you are keeping an eye on right now or that stood out to you so far in the night? It's only 10:23 on election night, but what's standing out for you?
I think as sort of an overview, you have to kind of look at the statewide vote on president, and Harris has already been declared the winner in New York, but the percentage might give you an indication of any kind of coattail effect for Congress, state Senate, or Assembly, depending on how big that margin ends up being.
Okay. Let's talk about the propositions on the ballot this year. The New York State Prop 1 we know has passed. Would love to get your thoughts on that. Was that a surprise to you? Did you expect that to happen?
Every poll taken up until Election Day showed Prop 1 running with a lot of momentum, like 3-1 in the state. There was a lot of late spending by opponents who raised the issue of gender treatment and transgender athletes and these other issues. A lot of late spending. There was $10 million or $8 million pumped into a vote no on Prop 1 account, and they flooded the airwaves and sent out tons of literature. But it looks like that's going to not have much of an effect at all.
Yeah, that one passed very early in the night. Well, Yancey, listen, we've got a lot to talk about the rest of the night. Again, just about 10:30 on election night. We do have some winners already, but again, a long night ahead of us for other races that we are keeping a close eye on. So Yancey, we'll check back in with you. Thank you so much for your time. Continue to stay with us here on Newsday TV as we bring you those results, how they impact you at home. We will have so much more coming up. Stay with us here on Newsday TV for our LI Votes 2024 election coverage. We'll be right back.